Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Next Normal. I'm your host, Sister Jenna. We're broadcasting from the beautiful studios of the Meditation Museum. I hope you're doing really awesome. Many of you have followed me and have been with me on this journey, and you have felt my deepest wish for you, that you're able to really get your life together and stand on your own 2 feet. At times, things are a little bit of a struggle, I know. But those test papers that we get, boy, do they make our wings extend far and wide. Sometimes without those tests and those struggles, I don't know who we would be. Maybe bums. But I'm so excited today because we have 2 special guests in our studios. It's a royal guest, a royal extravaganza. My dear friend from India, Prince Manvendra from the Rajpipla Dynasty in Gujarat, and his wonderful and beautiful husband, Prince DeAndre, who is with us in the studio. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about what it requires to come out, what it requires to accept yourself, what it requires to stand tall, even if the world doesn't quite understand who you are and what you're going through. We want our show here as we celebrate World Pride Week in Washington, D.C. and around the world to be a show that embraces acceptance, love, maturity, respect, godliness, and divinity. So, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Prince Manvendra and Prince DeAndre. Welcome to our studios. I feel like a princess sitting next to both of you. Hey. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Oh, I can't wait to get right into the conversation. Now, I know that the both of you are on your first USA tour together. Tell me, how did that come about?
Yeah, so we had actually planned to be here because World Pride was supposed to happen in Washington D.C. So we thought it'd be a good beginning to start from here, and we thought what a better place to start our book tour, since we both have co-authored a book called A Royal Commitment: 10 Years of Marriage and Activism, which was launched by us in 2024 in US. So we thought that it would be the right place to start a tour, coincide with the World Pride, and go to several parts of US, taking our book there and giving the opportunities to the American readers to kind of have a glimpse of our private lives.
I think it's a great place to start, and especially the fact that you're going to be marching alongside the incredible Mayor Muriel Bowser of Washington, D.C. What a giant. How does that feel that you're going to be walking next to the mayor of D.C.?
I like it. When we landed, we were ushered over to have an event with her, the welcoming ceremony for World Pride. And, this time in the world, there's so many obstacles and so many things like saying, don't go, this is not the time. And, being able to really just trust that there's that higher power navigating all the obstacles, removing things and delivering you on time. To be able to, join hands and be able to march side, an elected official who embraces diversity, in Washington, D.C. is a very proud moment for us.
It's a big thing, especially when Washington, D.C. is disseminating news or information that I think the world is kind of scared right now, and nobody really knows what to be or how to be anymore. I tell you, my heart goes out to everyone who is struggling, just being in themselves, whether they're gay or straight. Everyone is struggling with something. And I'd be curious to just find out from the both of you, when did you realize that you didn't seem like everyone else? At what age were you, and what were those feelings? Duke?
For me, it would have been, my whole life, and all the people around me already knew who I was until I grew into knowing who I am as a divine being. But more so, as you go through those growing pains of from a teenager, into your teenager years and then moving forward through that, then you really start to grapple with who are you. There was no main role models that we have now today for people. And again, the time period that I was growing through was coming out of the AIDS pandemic, so there was always these whispers of uncles or someone's friends and something like that, and people would then look at you. And so you always had something, there was this fear of something going on in people's minds. But everyone around me already knew that I was like super fabulous, that I was like this being. It took me some time to get used to it and navigate, that.
Can you be a little bit more specific? I've met so many friends and young boys and girls throughout my path of service, and there's a feeling that they carry inside. I remembered one time a young man cried in front of me, and he just said, "I'm flawed." And he did so many things great. He knew how to cook, he knew how to write, he knew how to lead, he knew how to manage. He kept himself in order, he was charitable, he was a giant to me. And I had never thought anything about him was flawed. But where he was concerned, he felt that. And of course you knew I changed his mind. I slapped him up a few times and says, "Wake up, what in the world are you talking about?" But there's a feeling in the soul, from what I have captured, is something is wrong, or this is a shameful feeling to have, or if anybody knows, they're not going to love me or accept me, or they're going to ridicule me. Did both of you ever go through that period?
Yeah, I mean, I was always told something that, you had to follow the norms of the society. And when I would look around, the norms of the society was something opposite of what I was being told, because even though homosexuality was considered to be, sinful or something which is against the order of nature, but then what I was seeing around was homosocial behavior everywhere. Boys and boys were always allowed to be together, girls and girls were always allowed to be together. Our own palaces, for example, if most of the palaces you see in India are homosocial in nature, where we have the men's section separate and the women's section separate. Even though I studied in a co-ed school, yet I was always told that you're a boy, you have to be in a company of boys. And if you're a girl, you have to be in a company of girls. Boy and girl were not allowed to be together in private or in public.
But do you think that growing up in the royal family, you spending time more with boys, do you think that contributed to it, or do you think you were just born with these tendencies?
I don't think so. It is something where you're raised in the company of the same sex, which makes you gay, right. Or somebody, if you're a girl and you're raised in company of girls, it makes you a lesbian or a queer woman. But this is natural. You're born with it. And it's just that when you come to a certain age, you realize you're different. And when I was growing up, of course, we didn't have much education. I grew up in a very conservative, close-knit society where I wasn't exposed to a lot of things. So it took me a while to understand myself. But there have been others in my generation who knew about themselves much faster than I realized my sexuality. But it's just that, what people perceive about this and what they put you in your mind, which creates that kind of a guilt feeling in you, that yes, I have done something wrong. And it is important that you remove that guilt feeling, that feeling of shame from your mind, and we have to grow out of that. Then you will realize, because I realized that people who live in that guilt, I have seen people turn atheists in front of my eyes, because you always put that fear, oh, God is going to punish you, or you will go to hell, you have committed a sin, things like that. So, and people then they say, okay, if you say God is doing that, then fine, I don't believe in that God.
Right, of
You know?
course, of course.
So,
So how did you remove your guilt and shame from within you to accept this is the part that I'm going to play in this incarnation?
well, I've grown up in India, and India, as I always call, is the land of the sinful Kama Sutra. So I read the Kama Sutra. I've seen homoerotic forms of statues and sculptures in temples like Khajuraho and many others, and I just felt that this world is so much hypocrisy in this world,
Yeah.
that you do not want to accept the truth.
Yeah.
And therefore I thought that why should I live in that feeling of guilt when everything around me is accepting, and it has been accepted in the earlier days. It is just that now people are trying to shove this down. They are trying to consider this as a taboo. So I said, who am I to have this feeling of guilt?
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm suspecting that it was exceptionally challenging for you in particular versus maybe DeAndre. In America, we're a little bit more open to practicing your sexuality or nothing at all, right? And in a royal dynasty, you have 100 eyes on you all the time. You have to uplift or stand in dignity of the name of your family's heritage in the dynasty. Your mother's been struggling with the way that you've been born and raised. Your father has eventually, the king has eventually accepted, this is my son, I love him, he's the heir to the throne. It's okay. Do you feel empathy for your mom, knowing that she would only wish for her son to be like everyone else, and he is not? And if there was one thing you would like her to see that could maybe shift her perspective of how beautiful of a person you are, and how beautiful your role is to help so many who've been disenfranchised from their homes, what would you want her to know? What would you want your mother to know? What is at the core of your being that she could hear you today?
Yeah, I think you have said very correct. She does definitely needs empathy, because I've seen her. She is struggling to kind of to be in her life. She's leading a very lonely life. She doesn't have any friends. She doesn't have anyone to give her company. So I think one thing, if it could be made known to her, is that whatever she has done with me, whatever she has behaved with me, at the end of the day, she should know that I still love her. And I think if that comes to her as a fact, that in spite of all the odds, in spite of all the behavior which she has done, if she still knows that I love her for what she is, for the mother, it is, I think it is because of her that whatever I am today, I am here.
So
Because,
why don't you tell her in the camera now, Mom, I'm not quite sure why I was born the way that I am, but I'm really okay with myself, and I love you, and I hope that one day you will be able to embrace me. Just tell her. This camera.
Yeah. So, Mom, Mother, I'm grateful for you to have given birth to me, and it is because of you that I am on this beautiful planet called the Earth, and I am able to serve so many people. I'm able to help so many people, and I'm able to live the life of truth and honesty. It is because of you. So I truly love you. I truly appreciate the fact that you have brought me to this earth, and I want you to know that in spite of all the facts, in spite of all the odds you perceive about me, you know about me, I still love you.
Oh. Prince DeAndre, how does that make you feel when you know what he has gone through with, when you're born with these sanskars, we call it in the Brahma Kumaris, just sanskars, we're on a journey, and sometimes some sanskars go left, right, up, down, straight, crooked. It's all in us. And every birth, we have a particular opportunity to play a part out. I personally believe none of my parts are bad. I believe that if I spiritualize my life, you will see how beautiful my part is in the world. And I see that with Manvendra, that because he is empathetic and he's serviceable and he wants to help people, that's his spirituality speaking through whatever his karmic account is of this lifetime. When you recognize what he's been through, and you come from the United States, the good old state of Oregon, and you've been free, even though I'm sure it's been also a struggle to some extent, how do you feel knowing what he's going through with his family and what it must be like for him?
Well, it comes to an observation, you know, he was born into a royal family, which is one big establishment. And so in those establishments, you know, it's its own machine, it's its own mechanism. So there isn't a lot of room in those establishments for personalized development or individualized love. So they're like these giant establishments, I wouldn't even call them homes, of protocol. And so, you know, as I've been married into the establishments, I've been able to observe how the establishments run. And I've come to appreciate that there are great things that keep these establishments moving forward, that are worthy of preserving. And then there are some behaviors that just need to fall off. And so those things take time.
Yeah.
And, you know, being able to express your unconditional love, you know, is something that's new to the establishment. It's not something that has existed, you know, based on my observation of how these establishments run, the protocol of the establishments, how you would speak to your mother or your father, who is a king or queen, or your ability to have an open opinion on anything. And no one in the establishment, you know, expresses emotions or feelings. It's not a part of the upbringing of the establishment. So being able to observe how these establishments run, and then coming from a different place where it's like, where we celebrate Mother's Day, we celebrate Father's Day, we celebrate birthdays, where in the establishment there's no such thing as these celebrations.
Right. But they have different kinds of celebrations, though. So it's like more love for the dynasty than love for your individual desires. Is that what it is, what you're trying to say?
Well, I mean, we do what's necessary for us to continue to move forward the most important parts of the family's history. So, which is the spiritual, you know, the spiritual idealisms of the gods and goddesses are the most important aspects of our honor and duty at this point. But when it comes down to, you know, giving hugs, right, which is something that people need, and or just touch, you know, it's not there. You're not raised to.
But it's cultural. It's not even just the establishment, I think, right? In India, hugging is not a big thing. Like, I'm a hugger. So when I go to India, they're like, oh, Sister Jenna, she loves hugging. Hi, sister.
Yeah, there's a hugging saint too.
Yeah.
Amma Ji, right,
yes,
which is different. So, you know, as you look at Manvendra's royal dynasty and the next heir to the throne and the challenges of his journey, but also the opportunities of his journey. Here you are, creative, grounded, spiritual, a beautiful heart person, and you've come into this really intense space. Share with me, what are some of the spiritual tools that you offer to help to make things a little bit smoother?
First, it would be the silent smile. You know, a smile opens a lot of doors and hearts to people. And it doesn't cost me anything. I don't have to speak a language to give you a silent smile.
So true.
Then a lot of grace, first for myself and for the establishment and for all the people involved in the establishment. If I can give grace to that, then grace can be reciprocated back to me, owning, showing up as who I am. And allowing myself to know that I'm worthy. Because there's so many different angles that people's opinion comes at you. You know, so you're a foreigner, so you're not worthy. You're a gay man, so you're not worthy. You're not from this specific caste, so you're not worthy.
How do you stand tall knowing that sometimes when people look at you with judgment, how do you protect yourself?
Well, it's not really for me to take on their judgment. You know, that's their story, that's their life, that's their lived experience. And so I really don't really pay too much attention to it in terms of like, if it's there, it's existing, then it's there and it's existing for them. I have a mission, or I have, you know, a purpose for whatever that day is that I'm doing something. So I stay focused and grounded in that. And, you know, I've developed a very unique way of moving forward with my life, which is, you know, trusting a higher knowing, a universal intelligence, and flipping back and forth from my ego, which would then be like, you know, let me put these jewelry pieces on, and let me put on this crown, and let me put on this ownership of things, to going into, you know, a moment of meditation. Or I would like to even be like, the life that I'm now married into gives me an opportunity, you know, to be able to step away from the chaos of the world and really enjoy
The
meditating.
simplicity and the beauty of life.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about your meditative journeys. Isn't that cool that you both can just be on your farm or property and just meditate together at times? So I know you've done the meditation course of Raj Yoga, and I know that you're still growing and developing in it and still exploring other options. And I know you've really enjoyed Louise Hay and teachers of this nature that have helped you to be very accepting of life and very optimistic of life. When you actually sit in meditation and you turn your attention behind your eye and you go into your soul, what do you see? On some occasions, what are some of the things that you see, or what do you experience? Manvendra.
So for me, when I go inside, then I have to keep myself telling myself that I'm not me, I'm a soul. First of all, I have to keep repeating that. And when I look at this soul, I realize that soul is genderless. Soul has no gender. So if I am gay, well, soul does not define that so and so is gay or a straight or bisexual or transgender or whatever. Soul is something which is acceptable,
Pure,
by
peaceful,
all. Yes, yeah, exactly.
loving, powerful.
Yeah. So that's something which keeps me going, which gives me the strength to do the things which I'm doing now, because it is that myself being a soul which gives me the strength.
What about your relationship with God? What's that like now?
God has always been my friend.
Oh, I love that.
And I have a lot of conversations with him or her or it in whatever form, because again there's no gender or sex in that. So I have great conversations with God, and God loves me. I know that. And if His love is there, then I'm complete.
Beautiful.
I don't have to find love from other persons, because I know He loves me and I love God.
Beautiful. Prince DeAndre, what about you? When you sit in meditation, what do you feel when you go behind your eye?
Well, for me, it will be, what is my intent of my meditation at that moment? So if I'm having an intentional meditation, then I'll have an intent on what I'm going into meditation for. So if it's wanting something or needing something or a guidance or clarity, right, then that will be at the forefront of my meditation process, and that information will then be revealed to me.
So it's very organic and very authentic.
Yeah.
You're being present.
And I would say like meditation for me could be the same way that other people might say like, well, I pray or I wish, right? It's the same type of energy. It's the same type of asking, right? So if I'm asking for something, then that will be my intent. Now, if I'm just going into a meditative state, then I see nothing because there's nothing to see. When I'm in a meditative state, I am all that is. I am the creator. I am the light. I am the vast space. I am the galaxy. So, I might start off concentrating on like my breath, but then like I just merge into this nothingness.
What's your relationship with God like?
My relationship is perfect. It's there's no difference for me in between what the creator of all that is and who I am and that universal intelligence where I'm at now in my journey. If I am to observe how I've come to this understanding, I would say my life was like a light switch where in my times of struggle, when I would reach for the idealism of what a god, goddess, deity, or an energy would be at that point of my knowing and understanding, then I would be asking, be begging, be surrendering myself to a higher power of something.
Yeah.
And waiting for that to be answered.
Right.
And now, as I've grown, and I know that I am
And
worthy.
continuing to grow.
And continuing to grow,
Right.
And I know that I'm worthy, that now I just turn in.
Good.
Right? Or I can say I turn up, but it's no longer turning something on or off, because there's not an off light for the divinity of the creator of all that is. Universal
Beautiful.
intelligence is a constant light. It's a constant pulse.
Beautiful.
So I think a lot of people, a lot of gays, lesbian, bisexuals, transgenders were disenfranchised from our spiritual power by organized religions and the status quo, of my life understanding. So
I don't even think it's just them. I mean, think about a person who goes through a divorce, and just stuff like that, how religiosity judges you so much for a role that you're just playing, right? And sometimes we forget it, but I do know that has gotten more hype in terms of religiosity. For any soul out there who is struggling to share with somebody that they trust or someone that they love about what they are battling with inside about their sexuality, what would you tell them to do?
So I think my first advice to them would be to accept yourself. That self-acceptance is the first step one should take, because I have realized, and this is out of experience I can share with you, that a lot of people I know who are gay, lesbian, trans from the community are not willing to accept themselves, because they have, again, as I mentioned, that guilt feeling within them.
Or the stigma of the society
Yes,
also,
exactly.
right?
That what will the people say? Even accepting, you're not even telling anyone, but even telling yourself, they have a problem to that. And I remember I saw a documentary film. There was a study was done with a very famous university, and it has been proved that a lot of homophobia, transphobia comes from the community itself. And you can imagine that, you don't even have to go to anyone else. I mean, you remember we saw that film together. We both saw the film together, and they just took this random sample of people, and they did this survey, and a lot of transphobia, homophobia is coming from the community, because they are not ready to accept themselves. They don't want others also to accept. Others to be accepted. So it's very important. You need to come out yourself. Then if you wish to come out to your family or friends or anyone else, that's up to you. That's the second choice.
Yeah. Prince DeAndre?
For me, it would be to know that you are a divine spark in this world, and that there's so many ancestors behind you that brought you to this point, and where you are at in your life. And so to know that you belong, that this universe is yours, and that you have that divinity, you have that right, you are worthy.
It's beautiful. Sometimes I wonder, and this is just a person who sees it from a different lens. And please forgive me if I'm going to be disrespectful or ignorant. I don't mean to be. But sometimes from my eye, and let's say the World Pride Parade is coming up in Washington, D.C. this weekend. And sometimes we see a variety of colorful expressions of people's gayness. Sometimes you look at the men and they're in tight shorts and they're acting, or they have leather on, or a different form, and they tend to seem like they're very, very happy, and they seem to be very, very sexual. And whenever I see that, I always say to myself, like, that's not what it means to be this. And I think to myself, I wonder if it's just a feeling that I don't feel valued or loved. And I just want you to see me, and I want you to know I'm beautiful or I'm special. Or is it just a natural part of the community and the society that, just like in the heterosexuals, there are a variety of people who dress different and act different, no doubt. I think in the homosexual community, for me, this is my ignorance coming out. Love me after the show, huh?
No, always.
For me, I would just love to see them looking dignified, royal, and sort of settled and mature, and that they don't have to flaunt their naked, half-naked bodies in the world to reveal anything. And I think it portrays to people like myself, like, what is wrong? Okay, you're going to be loved, but if I were gay, I wouldn't love that image. I would love somebody who has honor, dignity, self-respect, who stands strong and who moves forward with grit. You know, what do you think about it? Because you mentioned something important, that some of the issues are happening within the community. So now I'm saying, looking outside, looking into the community, and again, it's my ignorance. I know it is. But my desire is, please, I want them to be uplifted too. And when I look at them in that form, half naked, you know, doing all of this, and it's raining men, hallelujah, and they have all of their leather and stuff on, I go, I get it, but I just want you to be respected, and that's not the way. What would you say to my ignorance?
Well, for me, because growing up in Oregon, so my first experiences of adult nudity is in solstice parades. So I think it becomes a social construct of your own embarrassment.
Desire? Oh.
Embarrassment, your own embarrassment to see someone else. Because in the solstice parade, people are naked, they're riding bicycles, they're celebrating a new season, and it's perfectly normal. People are riding their bikes all throughout the Pacific Northwest, celebrating the solstice, naked, purely naked.
I couldn't do it.
And so there's no stigma, there's no shame, there's nothing, right? Because we're born
that's
naked.
fine, because we're
and we die naked.
Okay, I'm not walking around naked, okay? But listen. So one of our teachings in Raj Yoga is, when you practice to be self-conscious, it's like you're naked. So it's an awareness. It's a spiritual awareness. But when the spiritual awareness isn't there, then we say we're born naked. So here it is, right? That something's, because not everyone has that mindset. But if I am spiritually naked, which means I don't see your body, I don't see your gender, I just see your divinity that you speak so much about. I don't need to ride a bicycle naked. I need to ride my bicycle and let my spiritual nakedness be this light that goes far and wide. So the reason why I bring that up to the community, I just feel like it's an important time to have a conversation like this that says, you don't have to do that anymore. You want to be naked because we're born spiritually like that? Be spiritually grounded in your power of purity and peace. You'll see how the world will bow at your feet in your gender. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I do wonder, and again, I'm being ignorant, Manvendra. Please help me take my foot out of my mouth.
But when it goes
What am I
to
saying?
my first time going to a gay pride parade, you know, when I seen it, then because of the guidance of society norms and the teaching of Christianity and spiritual truth of the church, right, you feel ashamed. I feel ashamed that I see people who are my brothers and sisters who are lesbian and gays, bisexuals. I felt ashamed for them. But the same eyes, the same child who saw the naked people celebrating the solstice was a celebration. So it really becomes down
But they
to
were
personal.
they were in that community, though.
I
Anyway,
mean, it was a public parade.
okay,
Yeah.
the
so
story.
it becomes like that. Those differences of your own perception
Perception,
of
right.
what that
But remember,
social morality is.
there are 8 other billion people who might not be as evolved. And like a parent, when they raise a child, the parent won't try to procreate more children in front of their children because they want to protect the child's innocence or sense of self until they mature to understanding. And I think similarly too, society is trying to mature to understand this genre. And so I wonder if we could sometimes tone it down a little, not for others, but you tone it down because, like what you said so beautifully, I'm a divine light and I will never be extinguished. And so I don't have to prove my sexuality to show you my light. My divine light is proven by my smile, my kindness, my wisdom, my spirit to cooperate and help others. It doesn't matter what gender I'm in or what sexual orientation I choose. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to see how do we neutralize everything and make it so beautiful that when anybody sees you or anyone else, namaste, very nice to meet you. No one's thinking about your gayness, but they're seeing your divinity.
And it's a very Western concept because you don't see the fetishes or clubs in pride marches in India.
Yes.
This is a very Western idealism.
Yeah,
Right.
so I have never grown up seeing this kind of parades, prides.
Right,
Because
right.
in India, I mean, yeah, we do have nudity in India, but we see that in saints.
Right.
You know, certain sects of like Jainism,
Yeah, it's different.
there's a particular type of Jainism where they are nude. There are some. We had the Kumbh Mela just now, where there were these Naga sadhus. So we
Yeah.
see nudity in the
Different form, different
forms.
consciousness,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, exactly.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really like to see naked gurus either. You know, I just don't think that
Yeah.
you need to prove your sainthood or your spiritual power by walking around at the Kumbh Mela half naked with ashes over you. And again, I know why they're doing it. I am a soul. I'm not this body. I am beyond the attraction and the attachment to the world, and I'm here to evolve. I know that's what they're communicating, but because the experience of the soul is less, then they give you more the experience of the human form of what they are trying to attain spiritually. Is that making sense? Yeah. Well, I definitely want everyone to see a copy of your book, and I want you to talk a little bit about that and where they can get the book and so on. So congratulations on your book. Let's take a look at that. So tell us a little bit. Wow, look at the two of you. A royal commitment, 10 years of marriage and activism. Wow. So Prince DeAndre, tell me, what was your favorite chapter in the book? What was your favorite moment?
It would be chapter 11, Forever Royalty. Because during that time of our life, I was in the US and Manvendra was in India. And it was our first time seeing each other since
The pandemic.
I left. So last time I seen him, I was getting on a bubble flight to the US to start life on my own. without any help, and Manvendra was left in India. So after all those years, we finally come together on this invitation. So that would be my favorite part of the book.
Oh wow!
Was seeing him.
And what about being knighted?
I mean, that was like a really good. I mean, that was like a really great honor, because we're the first same-sex couple who were being honored by the Swedish royal family's establishment, and all the different European aristocracy was there. And so at first they didn't know if we were going to be knighted together, or if Manvendra would be knighted, if we were both going to be allowed to go in, because there was no protocol to this. And we ended up having, Manvendra was honored as a crown prince, and I was honored as the duke, and we got ushered in, and in front of me was the ambassador to the United States of America.
Beautiful.
And we had like our row of people there, and we got to witness all the people coming in and greeting the family and entering the ball, the representatives of the royal family. Then we were both called up and knighted at the same time together.
Beautiful. And how did it feel?
Yeah, it was a very proud moment, because I think this ball's been happening for how many years now? 200?
18, no, 16 something, I think.
Yeah, it's been happening for now 4 centuries. And this was the first time that the same-sex royals getting knighted was something not imaginable, So it was a pleasant surprise for me as well, that we got this kind of an opportunity, which has never happened in the history.
It just goes to show, and I hope your mom's watching, just how pure your heart is in helping those that have been ignored or not seen. And I hope that one day she will see the soul that you are and not your sexual orientation. And I hope that one day the world will see the souls that you are and not your sexual orientation. And I hope that one day the world will just continue to embrace all souls and know that everyone's trying their best to be their best. And it is also my pure wish that God's love and God's light will just continue to guide both of you. And so I thank you so much for joining us on The Next Normal today and making today very special. So where can we get a copy of the book?
You can get it at h1927llc.com or anywhere that fabulous books are sold.
Okay, so what's the website?
h1927llc.com.
Got it. Okay, great. Brothers, your royal highnesses, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us here.
Om Shanti.
It's been a pleasure. All right, so that was a royal dish that was well served, and I hope everybody really enjoyed our conversation. Please, everyone out there, just accept people as they are. They're God's children. I don't believe none of us are broken. I don't believe there's a flaw in us. Only if there's anger, lust, greed, attachment, and ego, and that goes across the board to every one of us, that energy we have to get out of the spirit in order to understand the power of life. So I hope everyone enjoyed our conversation today. Feel free to keep replaying this one to learn more about yourself and about your neighbors. Thanks again for joining us.